Welcome Lance Malburg, please.
It's really not that bad. A lot of notes, but it's really not that bad. I'll do the best we can to get back online. Lance Malburg, Dickinson County Road Commission. Yes, my card says NACE because I'm also a member of NACE. I'm representing them here today. Actually, I'm the chair of the pavement preservation group, not the structures group, but I do a lot of neat stuff in Dickinson County. Trying to convince our state agency we do neat stuff, but doesn't always work that way. But hey, I've been doing this for stuff. I've been an engineer for 30 years. Graduated from Michigan Tech, go Huskies. There's a whole lot down here probably. Maybe a few tech people in the audience. But one thing, to do it that long, you got to kind of enjoy your work, right? So you got to have a little bit of fun once in a while. I'm a civil engineer. So what is a civil engineer? Let's have a little fun here. One who solves problems you didn't know you had. One does precision guesswork, right? You guys recognize that one? And, you get excited about things no one else really cares about, like bridges. And, of course, you know that one, right? But that's an engineer. What about a civil engineer? If you look at my card, it says engineer because I do a lot of things. So what's a civil engineer? Basically, design, build stuff based on assumptions that somehow work. And we're like any engineer, only a lot cooler, right? But we got to have fun, too, if you don't have fun at work, what does it? And, of course, we're not with railroads. Let's get started on this. I'm going to try to get back through this. Interesting, brutal situation we had. Let's back to the cover slide. Where's Dickinson County? We're not by Detroit or Lansing. I was asked earlier, well, how often do you get down to Detroit? Almost never. It's like 8-hour drive to Detroit. Okay, we're up in the UP. It's got a neat little dialect. If you want to speak Euchre, say a lot, a lot, S on the end, and never use the word to or the. So go mall, go store, a guys, it's a neat little dialect. That's where our structure is. It's in the southeast part of the county. Right up US 2. A little bit about 573 is the road this is on. It's an old road. It runs from the city of Norway to, you guys can read this. I'm not going to catch up in time, Menominee. Basically, it serves logging. Logging's our big industry. Mining used to be. Well, mines are all shut down pretty much. So logging is it. Some agriculture. A little bit, the green line's 573, drops into 577. 577 drops all the way to Wisconsin County line. Red line's US 2. The X is the bridge. Pretty straightforward. That big gray area, or kind of off green, is the Copper Country State Forest. A lot of little trails come out of it to 573. Logging is huge, okay? That's our big industry. See the yellow blobs called City of Norway? Well, when the bridge is posted, guess where all the log trucks go? City of Norway. Right downtown's the only other truck route. I've been in Dickinson County for 11 years, and every year at least 4 times I get the mayor or the city manager in Norway. Get the damn trucks out of our city. Will you open your bridge up? Well, we finally did. A little about the old bridge, built in 1945. So what am I tell you? It doesn't work for every bridge because not all bridges are built this way. But kind of cool little project, though. The only thing that we can find in the records, in 2001, they repaved the road through, did some guardrail upgrades, but really never touched the bridge. So the bridge is the same as it was in 1945, more or less. Driving up to it's what you see from the south. Cute little bridge. Kind of neat underneath. These concrete diaphragms are a little unique with the holes in them specifically. Yeah, it's old. So you can see the deck drains. They had no extensions. So there's a little bit of delamination on the bottom. This is an interesting picture. In fact, yes, it's load rated. That's Michigan load rating. I know some of you guys, 80,000, that's feds, right? The federal standard, 80,000. So we're at, which is 40 tons. 42, you can see there, 42, 50, 57. That's actually load rated in Michigan, believe it or not. I know some people don't think that is, because we have these guys. Some huge, huge trucks. Yes, and it's quantified in law that you can drive 164,000 in Michigan. Makes being a bridge engineer pretty tough. Well, that's just one of my many hats. I'm the county engineer, so bridges, roads, everything. We have 28 different truck combinations to run. So if you run your load ratings, how many of you guys have 2 or 3? Just the Ashto? Try running 28 every freaking time you got to do something. And there's a lot of different combinations. And plus you have the overlaid state. These are overweight states. Okay, we have Class A, Class B, Class C overweights. And you see the difference here is now you can get up to 60,000 on your axle. A little heavy, huh? Anybody else have 60,000 pound axles allowable? This is stuff we got to design for in Michigan. Makes our life a little more miserable. Plus throw in the weather, freeze thaw, snow. Not a fun place to work. Well, it is a fun place to work. Let's put it there. So anyways, how did we come about with this job? And you guys, I'm sorry, I might go a little over, just a little bit. Just be aware. Just got a late start here. Basically, I got Dickinson County 2011. I do all the bridge. I do the inspections. I do everything up there. And after the second cycle, I started asking the questions, why are these different bridges load rated? And everyone was like a bad abutment, bad deck, bad this, bad that. But this bridge was a little different. Nothing really, other than the fact it was kind of no paint, was really bad on it. And you saw a little bit under there, but by the deck drains. Diving into it, the design is why the bridge is posted. Here's the actual bridge plans from 1945. Anything in here that looks like might be an issue? Yes, it's only 5 pages. That's the whole bridge deck, the whole set of plans. Wouldn't it be nice to write a 5-page bridge plan nowadays? Most of them wrote 100 pages, seems like. This little detail here might give you a hint. Show for a second. That's the section. Or maybe this guy, the diaphragm, might give you a hint. There they are. What's missing? Anything? Nobody? How about these guys? Shear studs. There's no shear studs in the bridge. That's a picture of a different bridge, 577. We did when we did the drawing places. But now I want you to look at those real quick. What do they look like? Little nails, right? Notice there's no thread on it. Notice they're not being stretched right now, right? They're not in tension or compression. We'll come back to that in a minute. Let's play a little bit. Let me turn this over here. You guys, I mean, you gotta have fun, right? I like to have fun at work. Here's our beam. Put our load on it. And of course, you guys have probably seen this before, right? Compression on the top, tension on the bottom. You can tell by the little lines get tighter on top. And if I'm talking to the choir, you guys may already know this stuff, but it's still fun to play, right? We gotta have fun at work. What else? And you can see that by the strain diagram. Get tight compression on the top, tension on the bottom. Let's add 2 beams. Add 2 beams. Pretend the load's on it. We gotta go quick. Now, if it's unrestrained, you can see the ends pass, and they each have their own tension and compression zone, right? This is all you guys know this stuff. You guys are bridge engineers. Well, maybe you don't. I don't know. We'll pretend you don't. Humor me. Pretend you don't, okay? So now each beam has its own tension and compression zone, and of course you have the neutral axis where there's no strain because the tension goes to compression. Let's take one more. Let's go one more time. Let's glue them together. Put some nails in there. Shear stud it. All of a sudden now, get the lines lined up right. They act together. So I'm putting a little force on the ends so they don't slide. Really, what happens is the ends slide, right? The top slides in the bottom. So if we put them together, now you can see the lines all work together. Basically, the top beam is fully compression and the bottom beam is fully tension. Let's apply that to bridges, right? It's kind of fun to play with foam in trucks, right? You need to play at work once in a while, okay? I mean, if you want to work 30 years in engineering in the public sector, you got to have fun once in a while. Just the way it goes. And yes, I am a clown on the weekends too, okay? So anyways. Here's our bridge. No shear studs. What happens? We talked about really quick, the tension and compression. If you guys want to talk more about that, we can talk later. No shear studs not tied together. The deck acts independently of the beams, right? So here's a tension and a compression side, same with the beam. Neutral axis through there. What do we know about concrete? Let's go back to materials. Anybody? Is concrete really strong in compression, really weak in? So what do you think our limiting factor was on this bridge? It was the deck. That's why it was load posted. Add in the shear studs. All of a sudden, neutral axis drops. Because they're locked together, it works as composite. The concrete's all compression where it's strong. The load rating goes through the roof. Okay? I mean, that's a little basic. It's preaching to the choir for this group, but maybe you don't know. So that's the detail we used. That's the details in the drawings. Yes, there are 300 shear studs they drilled. They don't need that many. But working with a state oversight agency, want their money, you follow their rules. They didn't trust the project was going to work right. Really, in the real world, think about it, where is the motion at? It's on the ends, right? So if a real bridge, and I worked for state of Illinois, they were pretty smart about this. We put a lot of studs on both ends and very few in the middle. They said, no, you got to go across the board. So 300 holes, about 2 feet apart. This little guy. Yes, I brought examples. That's a shear stud. That's what we did. 7/8 threaded rod with a nut and a washer. Don't agree with the washer. We'll get there in a minute. We're engineers. We went to college to learn how to think, and I'll get there in a minute. The washer is someone not thinking. But using their money, their funds, we had to use it. That's the workhorse of the deal. That little magnetic drill. Makes little cores like this. The handle is actually off, so you can see how it works. Kind of gets up there, and you see the squirt spray bottle. You know, it's oil. Of course, when you're drilling, you're cutting oil in steel, you got to oil it. The guy's looking at me. He's covered, you know. Of course, makes little cores. The other part was the big hilt. It was the big hammer drill. Once you get the hole drilled, you come back through, drill into the deck. Now, we went about it's a deck is 6.5 inches. We went about 4 inches into it. And there's some neat pictures. Like, those diaphragms are kind of cool, I always thought, so I took a few neat pictures looking through them. This is all the holes. Then we come back to our 7/8 threaded rod. A little bit of epoxy grout, and that's what we got. Pretty straightforward, right? Everybody seen this? Sometimes we just blindly, right, now we're engineers. I got my engineering license in Michigan, Illinois. Got to think, right? This next slide still pisses me off to this day, okay? Because we had to use other people's money, we had to follow their rules. What the freak are these guys doing? Anybody know? You got a big torque wrench. They're putting a torque on the nut. That's why there's a washer there. Why do you need to put a torque on a nut on a shear stud? What you're trying to do is you're not trying to tie the beam into the deck, you're trying to keep the deck from sliding. When a metal is in tension, remember we had a class at Tech called Smash Lab. It's actually Strength and Materials 301. 7 in the morning, the only 7 o'clock class I love. You go in there and you break stuff. Great class. But one of the things I remember from there is a metal in tension is weakened shear. That tension actually weakens the shear. They demanded we put 250 foot-pounds on these things. Okay, actually, I talked to the inspector. We wrote it up that way. Don't tell anybody from MDOT in the room. We don't need that because we're trying to stop the shear, not the strength. The original design that was a tack weld on the nut. Not a full weld, just an 1/8 inch, not to get heat into the beam. And then a tack weld on here to the stud, just to hold it in there. The grout is only there to stop it from sliding. Now, if it's tack weld and say the grout starts to fail, guess what? The void is still full, right? It's not going to move. Using that torque method, the grout starts to crack over time or whatever. This is just going to drop right out. But it's the way that it had to be to get the funding. Sorry, I get a little angry on that one. You know, it's just not right. But it's what you got to do sometimes to get the funding. So, other work we did. Deck drains, we improved those. That's pretty small still, but it's twice the size was original. And there was, as you saw in the pictures, there was a little bit of spalling from the bottom because there was no downspout, so we replaced that. We also, now, you heard someone say that in Michigan we don't do asphalt decks. BS. At 3/4 of the bridges in my county have an asphalt cap over the concrete. I'm sorry, guys, from Michigan. Counties do this, the state doesn't. That's the way it is. This picture kind of pisses me off a little bit too. I lost $5 here. Okay? Because original bid, we only figured there's a little bit of delamination around the deck drains. Well, there's an asphalt cap on. I chain dragged the whole thing. You chain drag. I learned something here. Yeah, I've done this 30 years. You still can learn. Inspector looks at me. Man, he's only been doing it about 15 years. And he goes, I bet you that if we take the deck off, the asphalt, we'll find more delamination. I tell him, yeah, you will, maybe 5%. He goes, bet you $5 it's over 10. I thought, damn, man, I changed this myself? No way. So I took him on. We chain rigged it after it, and we found 25% of the deck was delaminated. Guess what? I lost $5. So we did a little bit of structure repair in the fascia. Didn't need it for regular loads, but for the overweight classes, we had to do this. It's all under the deck drains. If you look where the deck drains laid out, those fascia beams where the deck drains dripped on the a little bit of repairs. And that's what we got, and we're done. Is there a way to zoom in? I'm not going to do it. We're short on time. I'm trying to catch us back up, so we're not going to go in there. But anyways, if you zoom in the picture, you actually can see the bolts from the flange repairs and beam repairs. Cute little bridge. So, what's this? Let me go back over here. Done playing. Back to get serious again for a few minutes. Am I catching us back up on time? I thought I'm trying to get through this pretty quick. Good. Okay, post-construction shear studs. We improved the load rating a lot. Now, some states don't do this. In Michigan, we do. We've got a 1 unit, a 2 unit, a 3 unit. That's that sign that has the 3 little trucks on it. The original is 42, 50, 57. Which in some states is already an overload. When we're done, 42, 77, 82. Now 42 is the heaviest single load or single unit truck in Michigan. So, and a Class A overload, we're good for. This was a cheap project. Back when we first got approved for the, 604, 592 was the cost of the project. Of that, 407 roughly was on the bridge. Another almost 200,000 on the road work. We did a little bit of approach work, a little bit of paving and stuff, and some guardrails and stuff like that. So we saved, so yeah, it was higher than estimated back in 2017 when we applied for the grant. It takes a little while to get through the process. At that time, we compared it to a new bridge. New bridge in 2017 was $956 was the estimate. Plus a lot of headache with permitting because we probably more than likely would have had to expand the abutments to match the water flow and a few other odds and ends. But with this, we didn't raise the low beam. We didn't change the weir on top. Just went through and got it through under the maintenance exception. So no DEQ or Eagle permit or anything like that. Eagle is our DEQ in Department of Energy, Great Lakes, and the environment. We don't have a DEQ in Michigan, it's Eagle. But anyways, because we got the maintenance exemption, so nothing there. 2022 pricing. Now everybody knows pricing's gone up through the roof in the last couple of years. Running the 2022 bridge scoping and average unit pricing, it's a $1.4 million bridge now to replace. That's not considering the expansion, making it bigger. That's putting it back to the same size, which probably would have to get another 15, 20 feet longer to match current Eagle requirements. So we saved a lot of money. Let's be blunt. We saved about a lot of money. And we probably got, well, is it going to last another 30 years? We hope so. That'd be over a 100-year-old bridge. It's in pretty good shape, These are our partners. OHM helped a lot with the design. I kind of put a lot into it, but I didn't have time to do it all. Coleman Engineering helped some with the inspection. We had an issue with original bid. We had 0 bidders on it, so we combined with 2 bridges into a mini bundle. Actually, OHM had this one, Coleman had another one, and they worked really well with OHM, combining items and bids. And because their work so good, OHM didn't have the time, so they just hired Coleman to do the inspection. So that's, working on the other bridge. It's kind of cool. MDOT did the oversight. Sorry, guys from MDOT. Oh, you guys are, I don't mean to badmouth MDOT, but it just pissed me off for those, how you guys forced me to torque those things when it doesn't need to be done. Hebert was our contractor. So it went well. So it's all thinking outside the box. Where, in 14 I asked the question, what can we do with this? The only answer was replace it. And like, no, there's other things you do than replace a bridge. You can fix them. So with that, I tried a few minutes off, but I really tried to kick through that as fast as I could.
Thank you, Lance. Appreciate it.
The preceding was produced by the National Center for Pavement Preservation. More information can be found on the web at pavementpreservation.org. Additional support provided by Michigan State University.